All right, and Dagan, real quick, two things about the Tucker interview last night with Matt. I thought Matt Gaetz was remarkably composed, and number two, I thought Tucker couldn't have been more surprised by the interview.
I went back and watched it with the sound off, just watching Tucker's face. No, I love. I mean, I love that. I want to point out something Jesse was talking about. This falls into the category of what I'll call asymmetrical leaking, where you get this leak, but what about Hunter Biden? And we found out that he was under FBI investigation over tax fraud, money laundering, and foreign ties to China after the election. And then you had big tech working in cahoots with left-wing liberals and those people who work there to censor a story before the election published by the oldest continuously published newspaper in the country. So there's some asymmetrical leaking going on.
Well, somebody also leaked that Matt Gaetz said he was going to retire so he could go work for a tiny news outlet.
Right, exactly.
That was probably Matt.
All right. Yeah, it might have been, but I will say this. He says categorically he never had a relationship with any girl that's 17 years old, never flew anybody in, and we're going to see. Why can't the FBI talk about it? If the FBI was one day away from releasing this information, why can't they come out and say something? And if they want any help with the Hunter Biden story, he's writing his autobiography, including crack use. So congratulations. All right, guys, great job. I really like to thank everyone for making that segment possible, but it's time for us to move on.
Yes. The thing about the new Matt Gaetz scandal is, of course, that Hunter Biden is under investigation. And so really, why are we talking about the fact that a sitting congressman was just accused of trafficking a minor when we should be talking about Hunter Biden? Got it. Just listen to this segment. It's like Fox News only has a pre-approved list of buzzwords they have to hit in every sentence. Like that game where you kick the hacky sack so that it doesn't touch the ground, but instead of using your feet, these Fox News hosts have to constantly say Hunter Biden and big tech and China and censorship. Here are 18 seconds where a Fox host does this so obviously that I couldn't tell the difference between this and a parody of Fox News.
What about Hunter Biden? And we found out that he was under FBI investigation over tax fraud, money laundering, and foreign ties to China after the election. And then you had big tech working in cahoots with left-wing liberals and those people who work there to censor a story before the election.
I'm honestly just disappointed she didn't manage to fit in Dr. Seuss. Also, this Fox host tries to accuse someone of what she called asymmetrical leaking and goes on to equate Matt Gaetz' trafficking scandal with not finding out that Hunter Biden was under federal investigation until after the election. But here's the thing. How are those two things in any way related? It's not like Hunter Biden's leak was held until after the election, but Matt Gaetz's wasn't. There's no election right now. So how is Hunter Biden getting preferential treatment over Matt Gaetz? These Fox hosts just cobble together words that don't actually mean anything to try and cry victim, even when the guy they're defending is allegedly the farthest thing from a victim here. From there, Brian Kilmeade steps in and tries to order the FBI around by demanding that they come out and talk about it. Now, two things here. First, I'm pretty sure the FBI doesn't take its orders from Brian Kilmeade from some morning show on Fox. And second of all, if you know anything about the FBI, it's that they don't comment on the existence or status of ongoing investigations. And so even though I'm sure it's very inconvenient for not only Matt Gaetz, but also his mouthpieces at Fox to have to move forward without any confirmation from federal investigators, those investigators are not going to break protocol just because a few Republicans are uncomfortable. Now, as for the scandal itself, I've been pretty clear before that I can't speak to the veracity of the claims, but there is one major issue with the story as it stands. The New York Times published this story detailing the allegations that Gaetz was being investigated for trafficking a minor. Gaetz pushed back by saying that, in fact, he's the victim here because he was being extorted for $25 million by someone who'd promised to make his legal troubles, quote, go away. But here's the thing. Even if Matt Gaetz was the victim of an extortion attempt, that wouldn't absolve him of the alleged child trafficking. It would just mean that, separately, someone extorted him to help him cover up the crime of trafficking a child. Like, sure, the person who tried to extort Gaetz would be in legal trouble, and rightfully so, but so would Matt Gaetz for trafficking the child. You can be guilty of the crime and also be the victim of a crime, but that doesn't make your crime go away. And again, I say all of this theoretically because we don't know yet what is or isn't true, but just in terms of the logic of Gaetz' argument, there are clearly some pretty glaring holes. So we'll wait for the conclusion of this scandal to play out, but it is especially telling that Fox News' gut reaction here is to line up behind Matt Gaetz regardless of the seriousness of the accusations against him. It really does go to show that there is nothing a Republican could do or get accused of doing, not even something as depraved as allegedly trafficking a minor, that would supersede their partisan allegiances. Remember that the next time that Fox News or the GOP more broadly anoints itself the arbiter of all things moral in this country, because they don't have a single leg to stand on when it comes to morality. To see more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the notification bell. And please subscribe to my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, where I not only break down the biggest stories of the week, but I also interview major players in the world of politics, including Vice President Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren, Nancy Pelosi, Katie Porter, Pete Buttigieg, Cory Booker, Jamie Raskin, and many more. Again, that's No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, available anywhere you listen to podcasts.